Welcome to Mark's British Airways Fleet Update, looking at short and long-haul fleets.
It's time once again for the British Airways Fleet Update here on Mark's Trains, Planes and Trams. We'll be looking at all the latest developments across the short and long-haul fleets, including the CityFlyer and EuroFlyer subsidiaries. Make sure you like this video and drop us your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe to my channel and click for notifications. Now, let's get going with this week's update.
Hello and welcome to the British Airways Fleet Update. Here we go again with all the latest across the short and long haul fleet of British Airways and its subsidiaries. This week's headlines then: the worldwide crisis of the Airbus A320 derivative seems to have largely passed British Airways by. A stroke of luck maybe. 3 aircraft had to be the software reloaded overnight. That was done. Bit of excitement around the Grand Prix in Las Vegas and the movement of a number of the crew across to Doha on 2 A350 charters. Bit of drama with the 777s on the Nassau route, and the next 7878 has headed out to Cardiff for club suites fitment, but the previous aircraft that returned and operated for about 3 or 4 days has now been grounded. Let's have a look then at the British Airways CityFlyer fleet and the Embraer 190s. Lima Charlie Alpha Golf, Lima Charlie Yankee Lima both remain at Exeter Aerospace. Lima Charlie Yankee Oscar has flown down to Exeter and back for a very quick visit for a couple of days. CityFlyer 9769 London City to Exeter on the 25th of November, back on the 27th as CityFlyer 9769 again, Exeter back to London City, straight on to commercial duties that afternoon. Over at London Gatwick, Echo Uniform X-Ray India remains at Malta for maintenance. Echo Uniform X-Ray Juliet returned from Dublin maintenance on the 28th of November. Griffin 9750, the call sign, commercial duties 2 days later from Gatwick, replaced at Dublin slightly earlier than that aircraft returned, 23rd of November. The EuroFlyer 9751, Griffin on the call sign, Griffin 9751, Gatwick out to Dublin. We've mentioned a few times on this show Echo Uniform Tango, which was one of the Heathrow aircraft transferred to Gatwick, out of use since the 6th of November. Only flew for 2 days since its transfer from Heathrow, but that aircraft has now resumed duties properly, it appears. 27th of November it went back into traffic on the BA 2624 to Salzburg. Golf Alpha Tango Uniform out of use at Gatwick since the 11th of November, resumed duties after over 2 weeks on the ground on the 27th of November, and Golf Alpha Tango Lima remains out of use at Gatwick since the 26th of November. Well, let's just touch on that A320 family software crisis. So after an incident with a JetBlue A320 in North America, in Florida, airlines worldwide have been impacted by effectively a safety alert, a massive recall on aspects of that software. Now, fortunately, in most cases, a few aircraft have got a hardware issue where the software can't be altered, but most aircraft you can solve this by effectively rolling back the software release to the previous edition, it would appear, and that seems to take not very long at all if you've got a technician I guess with the laptop and everything set up. So British Airways advised they only had 3 aircraft, which we believe were 3 A321neos, and they rolled back the software to the previous version over the evening of the 28th, 29th of November, and BA now appear to have no impact at all. In fact, worldwide, it seems to have had less impact than perhaps was trailed, and I guess compared to other aircraft challenges, this seems to have been dealt with pretty well on the whole. actually. So not something we'll need to worry about too much here. But staying with the Airbus A320 family of aircraft, I can tell you Delta Bravo Charlie Hotel and Airbus A319 that was over in Malta. That flew unusually Malta to Shannon as the BA9273 on the 25th of November. Most of the aircraft that are going to Shannon, unless they're going for circuit training, are generally going for a repaint. So our expectation is maintenance on that aircraft at Malta and then a repaint. And British Airways is withdrawing some of its Airbus A319s at the moment. We talked about that last week, but of course this is one of the aircraft that was refitted with a not a new interior but a refurbished interior, and now it's had a substantial check and a repaint, which all three aspects of that work suggest to me we'll see that aircraft still working in the British Airways fleet for some time. Echo Uniform Yankee Victor flew out to Malta for maintenance at the Lufthansa Technik facility on the 24th of November, and that crew stayed overnight in Malta, returned the next day with Delta Bravo Charlie Hotel, which we've just been discussing. Echo Uniform Yankee Uniform at Malta since the 24th of October, returned as the BA9275 on the 30th of November, resumed commercial duties that afternoon. Echo Uniform Golf remains at Glasgow since the 30th of October, and Echo Uniform Delta flew up to Edinburgh on the 23rd of November, BA1460. Return flight the next morning cancelled, and it came back empty as the BA9259. Golf Tango November Papa at Gatwick since the 7th of November, flew back to its home base at London Heathrow, BA9271 on the 23rd of November, back to commercial duties the next day. Echo Uniform Papa Uniform and Delta Bravo Charlie Echo remain at Madrid for maintenance. Echo Uniform Yankee Bravo flew out to Barcelona on the 25th of November, but it flew out on the 480. The 481 back was cancelled, and it came back as an empty aircraft, the BA9274, picking up commercial duties the next morning. And Tango Oscar November flew out to Prague on the 27th of November, the BA858. The return flight, the 859, cancelled. The aircraft remained on the ground at Prague for a little while, returning the next evening. Empty BA9278, but the aircraft has not yet gone back into traffic from London Heathrow. Tango November Sierra flew up to Inverness on the BA1424 on the 22nd of November. The return flight, the 1425, was cancelled. It came back empty the next morning as the BA9257. Across to the long haul fleet, and X-Ray Whiskey Bravo Delta has just about finished its maintenance at Bordeaux, been there since the 17th of October. As we publish this video, it should be flying back on the 30th of November on the BA9179 Bordeaux to London, back into service on the BA247. We'll keep our eyes peeled for that and confirm next week what happened. Two A350s we'll talk about in a minute in Grand Prix movements, and X-Ray Whiskey Bravo Mike. We talked about a return from Phoenix as the BA9608, but then remained out of use at Heathrow. It has got an assigned allocation Sunday night to Hong Kong. We'll keep an eye out for that. So the Grand Prix movements. Well, British Airways once again picked up a contract to transport equipment and colleagues from Las Vegas after the Grand Prix event round the world to Doha in Qatar. It used X-Ray Whiskey Bravo Sierra, which flew out to Vegas and then operated the BA9116 to Doha, back as the 3572, all quite unusual flight codes. I think the 9601 actually is a flight with some people on board, but wasn't sold through the normal systems. 9116, a special charter. 3572 normally indicates that it's in service carrying cargo, but again was not a flight that had seats sold on it. Similar story for X-Ray Whiskey Bravo Hotel, although BA did actually put an additional flight in the system, the BA 271 to Las Vegas, 9117 to Doha, 3574 back to London. Now, while that was going on, there wasn't the capability to run the full 350 schedule, so BA dropped a 777 into flights to Delhi. The BA 143 and the 142 were 777 operated, although the 777 fleet itself under a bit of pressure at the moment. A380s, well, that's all settled down. We had a bit of drama last time, but pretty good performance from the A380 fleet. X-Ray Lima Echo Delta remains out in Manila. Still no news on the refresh. X-Ray Lima Echo Golf out of use at Heathrow for 9 days. Returned to traffic on the 18th of November, but then out of use again from the 26th of November. Hopefully coming back into traffic soon. On the 777 fleet, couple of slides this time. Sierra Tango Bravo Delta out in Taipei for maintenance. They've finished work at Cardiff on Sierra Tango Bravo Kilo. That returned after 28 days down in Wales as the BA 9172, 28th of November, commercial duties resuming the next day. That aircraft replaced by Golf Victor India Victor, the crew out on one and back on the other. Victor India Juliet out of use for about 2.5 weeks at Heathrow. That returned to traffic on the 24th of November as the BA 213, and Victor India Delta was out of use at Heathrow since the 14th of November, and it actually resumed duties a day later than planned on the 18th out to Doha on the BA 123. Yankee Mike November from Heathrow flew out to the Gatwick maintenance facility on the 17th of November, BA 9175, back on the 9176 4 days later on the 21st of November. Immediately on arrival at Heathrow, it was loaded up and flew out slightly late as the BA 59 to Cape Town. Slightly strangely, we've reported Sierra Tango Bravo Alpha flying out to Teruel in Spain for what we thought was a repaint, but it's been there a very long time. Normally these repaints take 3 or 4 days. The aircraft been there for a bit longer than that. We'll keep an eye on that one. Slightly complex situation with the BA 253, 29th of November. That aircraft was taken out of traffic, replaced by another one that had a problem. The flight was delayed overnight and has been reprogrammed to operate, ironically, after the departure of the BA 253 from the 30th of November. It's going out as a BA 9602. It's operating through Nassau to Grand Cayman, but the BA 253 on Sunday morning not operating Nassau, Providenciales and back to the Turks and Caicos because there's not enough crew to resource all those moves simultaneously, even though the aircraft are now there. On the 787s, Juliet returned from Club Suites fitment, worked 3 flights, Baltimore, Portland and Hyderabad, but then 2 flights cancelled the next Hyderabad rotation. It's not flown since the 26th of November. Not quite sure what's wrong with that. Hopefully nothing serious with the engines, because otherwise it's going to join a pretty long queue of aircraft, but I guess we'll wait and see. Still no news from Cardiff on the 787-9 Club Suites fitment, so Zulu Bravo Kilo Alpha remains locked up, parked up, all finished but not able to go at Cardiff. And Juliet India is the new Club Suites fitment. That aircraft flew down to Cardiff on the 24th of November. Still no news really about engine fitment. There is a suggestion that there are 2 new Rolls-Royce engines in the shed at Heathrow in the maintenance facility. So what we may see potentially is those engines going on one of the stored aircraft, although of course it's also possible those engines might be needed to just keep an existing aircraft going. So what does that mean for the 787 fleet? Well, there's still 9 of them out of use, some long-term stoppers that we're very familiar with on this show, but obviously Juliet has joined the list, having been out of traffic now for about 5 days. Very much hope to see that back on. Kilo November is also out of traffic on the 787-9s. So we'll see what happens, but British Airways still struggling to make a substantial move forward with Dreamliner availability. Well, that's about it for this British Airways fleet update. Thanks for watching. Can I just say thanks for your huge support for these videos. I really appreciate there's a lot of you watching them and then pressing the like button on YouTube. It does make a massive difference. I know it's a bit of an ask, but you're all really helping me with that. So please keep doing that. And if you don't partake in pressing the like button, give it some thought. And Flyer Talk continues to provide some useful and interesting hints and tips, information, pointers for me to head off and do some deeper research. Do check out the Flyer Talk website for the latest information, updates and discussions on all matters British Airways. I'll catch you again back here in around about a week's time for the latest British Airways fleet update. In the meantime, do watch some of my other videos here on YouTube. I've just put in a flight review on an American Airlines flight from Washington National out to LaGuardia. Hopefully worth a view. I'll catch you again very soon.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe and click the notification button so you don't miss any of the great trips Mark has coming your way on this YouTube channel.